it is finally that time of year. Die Hard is not a Christmas movie.
No, so let's hear
Okay,
it.
so no, let's start with why is Die Hard not a Christmas movie?
Just the essence of it, like the story, the it doesn't. It's just it takes place at Christmas, but that's not enough. It should be that the event of Christmas,
Right.
like somehow impacts the story. That to me is quintessential. Like the story should be
Right. You need
related
to
or affected by Christmas.
exactly. Like you could argue I shouldn't make this argument because I've never actually seen Love Actually. So I don't know how much of the story of Love Actually is actually impacted by the fact that it takes place at Christmas, but people seem to think of Love Actually as like the Christmas ensemble movie.
Yeah.
But at least it seems like that story is trying to do something Christmas related.
Yes.
All of the annoying pedants on Twitter and online who say that any movie that takes place at Christmas is a Christmas movie are like hollow-souled assholes who don't understand the meaning of Christmas and don't like, no, the setting is not the thing. A Nightmare Before Christmas is a Christmas movie because you learn a lesson about the things that we're trying to teach people at this time of year. John McClane doesn't save the hostages because he was formerly a guy who would have let the hostages die, but something about the spirit of the season moves him to do the right thing. Like, no, you need the story to actually have something to do with what you're supposed to take away from Christmas.
Absolutely. People cheapen Christmas. They cheapen it. They slap the label on Christmas movies. Like, you're cheapening Christmas. You're taking it
And
down.
that's where, like, I'm not mad at a bunch of the Hallmark style Christmas rom-com movies because
Right.
they're like actually doing a thing, which is it's always the trope of like the woman who works too hard and needs to take time for family and herself. And there's things that are part of Christmas that you should be right.
So
No.
here's where I'll give a little, if Die Hard 1 takes place in the location of Die Hard 2, then I could see it being a little bit more a Christmas movie because it's a busy airport at Christmas. If they do that, right? A busy airport at Christmas, then I think to myself, a busy airport affected by Christmas is quintessential to this story, because the
Sure.
crowd and it's backed up and it's chaos and the police are overrun. So the fact that it's Christmas and it's busy, that is the reason why this airport is trashed right now, right?
Sure.
Nobody's that incompetent. So that drags it closer to a Christmas movie, but
kind of, but I think Home Alone is barely a Christmas movie. It takes place at Christmas.
Yes.
And there is a certain amount of Kevin learning that he actually misses his family and is happy that they come back. And right, like there's a little bit of Christmas in Home Alone, but actually not much of that movie is trying to give you any kind of like, it tricks people into it because it is so overwhelmingly the spirit of the season and the decorations and the music and all of the things that are going on. But there's not really much about how he defeats the wet bandits that has a Christmassy thing to it. So yeah, I don't know. It is, I'm kind of a miser about how much I need Christmas to actually be like a thing that you do. And I'm not a religious person. That's the other thing. I've got friends who are Jewish who are like, Christmas is so alienating and everything about it is not my religion. And I'm like, I'm not religious at all. Christmas has nothing to do with the birth of Christ. It is all about the lessons of you are giving to other people and sharing experiences with family and friends and loved ones. And I don't know, there's something about it that I don't like. Yeah, Christians have very good music. And so a bunch of like my Christmas playlist is incredibly religious. And I have no idea how I'm ever going to explain that to my kids because we are not going to be religious, but I'm going to be singing at the top of my lungs about how great the birth of our Lord is.
If you're into Christmas music, hymns, go listen to the English ones. I don't know why this country butchers like perfect music. It's like you brought the Christmas hymns and then it's like, how can we make it not British? We don't want it to be British. So it's like, oh, it's horrible. Like some of the hymns have been changed and they're disasters. But yes, so we're in agreement. Die Hard, not a Christmas movie.
All right.
Well,
Welcome to Acceptance Criteria, where we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of how software gets made and how we can all do a better job together. My name is Kevin Thomas Euland, and across the chat from me is Andrew Greener. Say hi, Andrew.
Hi, Andrew. We're also here to get deeper on the human elements. I could go on for an eternity about people and how they think about the process of building complex systems, and I can't think of two better people to do that than Kevin and I.
Fortunately, we're looking for third opinions, so if you've got a topic you'd like to come discuss or rant about, drop us a note and we'll see if we can get you on a future episode. You can go to acceptancepod.com/guest and submit your ideas. And a quick reminder, whether this is your first episode or you've been listening for a while, we wouldn't say no to your going and dropping 5 stars on Apple Podcast or Spotify and leaving us a nice review. And if you want to leave us a bad review, remember the name of the podcast is New Heights. Also tell your friends if you like the show and they should check us out. Some of the best podcasts out there go by word of mouth and we'd much appreciate it.
And a friendly reminder that we are always interested in hearing questions directly from you, our listeners, especially for our segment user stories. If you've got a scenario you'd like help with, whether it's working with a problematic engineering or product team member, trying to navigate the never-ending pitfalls with agile processes, or you just can't understand why your favorite app is evolving away from what drew you to it in the first place, we're here to talk it through with you. You can send those questions to acceptancepod@gmail.com or submit them on the Discord in the user stories channel, and we might be able to help on a future episode. And we're happy to keep it anonymous so no one can trace it back to you if you end up talking a coworker or something.
On this week's show, we'll be talking over some recent news stories from the world of tech. But before we get to all of that, let's take a short break and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back. This is a segment we like to call Market Factors, where we talk about industry news stories and trends we're observing. Mostly it's an excuse to rag on bad decisions and argue with each other whether some new piece of tech is worth it. This is a YouTube video that you linked to me, and then I think I must have found an article somewhere that I forgot to link, but Hawk Tuah is in big trouble. So if anyone doesn't know who Haley Welch is, she's a viral TikTok star for a fairly adult thing that I think for our everybody rating on iTunes, we're just not going to cover. But if you know who Hawk Tuah girl is, she launched a meme coin. So if you go back and listen to episode 33, we talk about just how much of a scam crypto is. And Hawk Tuah girl has been famous for 2 months at this point or something insane, and launched a meme coin, which is sort of like Dogecoin. It's a type of Bitcoin that is, I don't know, it's not even worth trying to explain, but it's basically it's a way to do a financial scam on people and do a rug pull. And of course, unsurprisingly, the Hawk coin was released on December 4th, and it immediately had a rug pull. Immediately, the people who it seems like were allowed early access to the coin then pulled out within a couple of days and left everybody else who had tried to buy into the coin with worthless. It's so stupid. I don't even like. I feel like a moron trying to describe it because all of it is so like. Of course, you got scammed. You morons. Of course you did. Hawk Tuah girl, you thought was a good investment. You are. This goes back to our scam episode. You deserve to be scammed, you idiots. What the hell?
It's a challenge, right? There's so many angles to this story because a lot of us are just sitting back saying because every day is like, what pearls are we going to read in the news, right? And so this isn't the only pearl. This isn't the only one where you're like, that's my planet. I live on the planet with these people,
with
right?
these people.
Yeah, with these people. Oh, it's crazy. And actually, it was interesting because I was listening earlier to there's a CoffeeZilla, a guy. He's doing his best to hold crypto investors, or at least the people behind crypto who are launching these pieces of crap. He's trying to hold them accountable, and so he joined the investor call, and it was interesting just watching how naive Haley Welch is.
Right. I mean, there's a version of this where she's just getting taken advantage of by this Doc Hollywood guy who apparently ran the actual account for her. She was just like, oh, they're telling me it's a smart investment for people, and she's had a podcast since September. She's clearly trying to capitalize her 15 minutes of fame. Whether she knew about it, I don't know. She released a statement the other day saying that she had no idea and that people who got scammed should go to the legal firm who are suing. But it's hard to say. There's a level of common sense that clearly doesn't exist in people's brains.
Yeah, I just don't even. Where do people get this money lying around too to just jump into this stuff to lose
right
enough? You've got to hope that someone wasn't like, this thing is going to the moon and sunk in their entire retirement money. Like,
this is the thing is I can't wrap my brain around who falls for this. And so Doc Hollywood is the guy who was on the live stream that you linked, and it's talking about he was trying to address the concerns of investors, kept telling people it wasn't a rug pull, this happens. And he had a quote which is truly phenomenal. There's a lot of negativity in this space. I think crypto brings the mentally ill into this thing. If you guys are in crypto, you're most likely mentally ill, and I'm gonna count myself as mentally ill for even being here right now. A rare glimpse of honesty from the guy who probably scammed all of these people.
But it actually makes me feel not so bad, right? Because here's the challenge for me. I think crypto's so stupid that, and this is a rare occasion, I don't go learn anything more about it because it's like, oh no, sacrificing children for the sun gods? No, I don't need to know any more about that. It's just bad,
Right.
right? You just start talking about crypto, I'm just like, no, I don't want to know anymore. It's stupid.
I'm going to be dumber for learning more about
Yeah.
it. It will kill brain cells by me reading about you.
And chances are what you're telling me will either be different by next weekend or is bullshit in the first place because there's no
Right.
regulation. And
Right.
this guy just, I feel like this guy correctly places everything that I feel about crypto.
Which is ironic because he's the guy who most likely orchestrated the rug pull.
Yeah.
And it's just wild.
But you could look at the psychology of it, right? It's when he says mentally ill, he could be saying the vulnerable. When you think about it, you could almost switch out the
I
mentally
mean,
ill for the naive, the
right, the
vulnerable,
naive,
the
right.
desperate, but they're not mental illnesses. That's cruel.
Right. Well, and I think there's a version of that where what he means is we're the neurodivergent, we're the Benedict Cumberbatch Sherlock. We're the ones who are
Oh yeah.
so smart that
The
we don't know
Musk.
how to deal with. Right. Like we're just weird because we're so intelligent at figuring out exactly. And it's like, no, no, you guys just don't have common sense. You somehow got taken advantage of by a meme girl. Like, what?
Yeah. That's the thing too, because I know we're not going to talk about what made her famous, but
How? If you know what
how?
made her famous, how did you think she was any what?
Yeah, you made that leap. Oh, if she knows how to do that, then she definitely
She
knows
must
how to
be
do
good at
crypto.
Bitcoin.
Oh, Hawk Tuah.
I don't.
But that's the
Nope.
country we live in.
Yeah, this is where I go back to. I feel a little bit bad about the people who got taken advantage of by the Bored Ape Yacht Club. They had Jimmy Fallon and Kim Kardashian and all of these people telling them it was this great investment. I get why our culture has arrived at the place it has arrived and the people are in the situations that they're in. But come on, you made a choice, and I get that our country is full of possibly, there was that statistic that came out in I think September or October that like 65% of the country doesn't really read above a 6th grade level or some horrifying statistic. Like we are in this situation, but how did you have thousands of dollars to give away to the Hawk Tuah meme coin?
It's interesting too because it's like if you were to get all of these investors in, and you're like, hey, we're building an investor center, so for this launch, come down. So 50,000 people come down, and they all think they're going to be billionaires because they don't understand the economics and the math of it. Like,
Right.
okay, there's 50,000 people here. We're all going to be billionaires. What?
Right.
You're all going to hit the lottery on this, right? Like,
No. What's the what was the website where you could get investors? It was like around the same time that GoFundMe started up, but you would invest in a project and you didn't actually pay the money until the product was delivered to you. Oh, what's the name of this site?
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, the cigarette lighter and some other
Yeah, they
devices.
like people would say that they were going to do all these cool projects and you would donate to the project, but technically you didn't pay the money. I mean, originally you didn't pay the money until the thing actually delivered a product to you. Kevin from the future just popping in to say that was Kickstarter. No idea why I had a total brain fart on that. All right, back to the episode. But there were more and more of those that was like, you pay us up front and we promise we'll deliver a beta product by the end of the year. And people got wise to that thing never delivered anything. And so it had to be that we will pay you when you deliver the prototype or the whatever it is. Like this is that same mentality of there's no proof that this is an actual thing. This is why were you willing to put money into this ridiculous thing? I don't get it.
Here's a good measure. If you can't tell in in detail how you lost your money, you probably shouldn't be playing that game, right? Because I can look at Blackjack and
Exactly.
say, I bust out, House wins. House
Right.
wins on blackjack. If you
Yeah.
can explain how you lost your money, don't play the game.
Yep.
Never play a game you don't understand.
In general, everyone should appreciate that the house always wins. The house kind of always wins in everything. You better understand what you're getting yourself into in so many situations, even just in general.
Yeah, and I will say this for the listeners: if you're looking for the next good investment, send it to Kevin and I.
There you
We
go. We
we
will
we we,
absolutely.
we will spend your money, and
It'll be good. We'll have
yeah,
merch and you'll get more entertainment in the future.
and you'll get the same
This is how
amount
we
back.
introduce our Patreon.
Yeah, you'll get the same amount back that you did
Yeah.
buying crypto. So
Exactly. Exactly.
crazy.
Oh man. All right. A US appeals court has upheld the TikTok ban. So back in April, Biden signed the law basically saying that ByteDance, which is the company that owns TikTok, has until January 19th to sell the app or face a ban. The reasons for this, I guess I'm trying to find the way to talk about this without. There's a version where it's bad that corporations and foreign entities have access to data and personal information and are building up things in a way that they could try to use. I will say TikTok and China haven't, as far as I can tell, done a lot with this massive amount of data. I mean, unless there's some secret briefing that they're not able to tell the public about horrifying things that China has done with TikTok data, it's no worse than the $139 million Elon Musk spent to get Donald Trump elected. Like, we have a bigger problem in Facebook and Twitter and our own social networks. This is the thing, is like, unless some senator is going to walk out of the SCIF, the private secure briefing room, and tell us there's some terrifying stuff that we're not allowed to tell you about that's going on, they haven't really made a compelling case to me why this is bad, other than they don't like that they don't have control over this social network. So anyways, the likelihood that TikTok gets banned in the US seems to be increasing as the appeals court says, yeah, Congress can do this. And I don't know, they timed it well. It's December 19th, January 19th. So Trump has sort of signaled maybe he would undo this, but it doesn't matter because he won't be in office at that point. Although the last week of Trump and Elon Musk messing with the Congress and they're not in office is concerning. So who knows? But yeah, China doesn't seem willing. ByteDance doesn't seem willing to sell. And I don't know. January 20th is going to be a whole new world, possibly.
Do we see the first ever app launch from the White House with a rival Musk Trump backed US TikTok version? Is that what we're gonna see?
I mean,
It could.
the original thing that was just like so cynically obvious is the bill gets signed in April, and like 2 days later, Steve Mnuchin, the former Treasury Secretary under previous Trump administration, Republican, comes out and says, "Oh, we're putting together a fund. We will offer to buy it from ByteDance." And it was so very clear that really what was going on was Republicans were orchestrating a way to take control over a platform that they had no control over, and there was a lot of things were orchestrated and happened on TikTok that Republicans didn't like. And so, of course, they want to take control of it the way Elon has taken control of Twitter and ruined it, the way Zuckerberg has ruined Facebook. Like, of course, they would want to do those kinds of things. So, yeah, the chance that they were hoping they were going to turn TikTok into Republican talk was 100%.
It's my party that has the conspiracy nuts, okay? My party.
This one is not, it's not a conspiracy when they come out publicly and say, oh, what a coincidence, Steve Mnuchin has lined up investors the day after Congress signs the law. Like, come on, guys.
Honest truth, they had been waiting for the ruling to announce the investment, but they'd known for months.
Right, because they were working with the Republicans in Congress who forced the law through. I mean, like,
It looks bad,
and this
but
is
it
the problem.
wasn't bad.
Yeah, okay. The problem is Democrats are also feckless when it comes to business, so a bunch of them signed on with it too. But this is what I'm saying. There could absolutely be a bunch of senators who have seen terrifying things that TikTok has been doing without our knowledge because China has some kind of control in it. But you would think that they would try at least to hint at that they would at least try to say that there's an actual piece of evidence why this app is worse than Twitter or Facebook, but they can't, which tells me it's motivated through political means, not through actual security concerns.
Maybe they're doing it through like, ooh, I feel more sympathetic to
To who?
to China. I must be getting indoctrinated by TikTok. It's like,
I mean, yeah, this is the thing, is like, the issue, Gen Z and Gen Alpha are not.
they think he's the Manchurian candidate.
That's like they are not being radicalized by TikTok. TikTok is the place in which they have expressed the radicalization of growing up in the horrifying last 30 years of this country. So Republicans hoping that TikTok is going to somehow get shut down and stop Gen Z and Gen Alpha from feeling the way that they feel is galaxy brain conservative thinking.
The interesting thing is Albania just banned TikTok for a year.
Sure.
Yeah, so they just banned TikTok for a year. And it's interesting. I'll get to why I think it's interesting. But it was basically, I think, a 14-year-old boy had been killed. And I guess they must have made the connection.
Yeah, there's terrifying things. I'm sure there are plenty of cases of TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all of these places. I mean, young girls shouldn't be on Instagram. It ruins girls' body image by all of the nonsense that goes into the algorithm and the things that TikTok pushes people towards. So yeah, social media is bad. Like I'm not I'm not defending.
You know what's impressive about it though is, and I like this because I've always admired the French for this, and I've always sort of hated myself and the British for this. Is we are exploited and trampled on. The French don't take that kind of crap, but it's a little bit agile, right? Albania are doing something. They're like
just try and see what happens for a year.
It's like the retro. Right. Hey, we don't like where society is going with social media, so for the next year we're going to ban it. We're going to put programs in place because that's what they've said, right? They're going to meet with the teachers, parents, psychologists, and they want to lay out a program. That's like, to me, that's like a mature country.
Sure.
Everybody else from the West would be saying that's radicalized.
Yeah, I mean, yes, the Republican desire not to have anyone tell you how to raise your kids, and the idea that you would have some touchy-feely conversation about social media's impact on your children when you're the one who wants to let them go, right? Like, it's this weird thing where think of the children, but then anyone tries to talk about how we would possibly think about the children is socialism and radical liberals indoctrinating our children. And it's like, well, okay. My other problem with this is it's not just TikTok. So you can say TikTok has problems, and that's true because social media has problems. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snap, all of these companies should be on the chopping block if we're going to say we're going to do something and we're going to spend a year figuring out the social impact on us. Great, then ban all of it.
This is what Albania said.
Okay.
Oh, I should check and make sure it was Albania who said it. So Rama, who is the Edi Rama, who is let me find out who exactly. Oh, he's Prime Minister. Well,
okay.
So he's pretty smart because he got to be. Well,
No.
Okay,
yeah.
So I like this quote. In China, TikTok promotes how students can take courses, how to protect nature, how to keep traditions. But on TikTok outside China, we see only scum and mud. Why do we need this? I like that. I like that quote. I like that.
But that's true of more than just TikTok. So that's my problem with this is if we as a culture want to deal with the impacts of social media, then targeting TikTok,
but
it doesn't add up, right? So like,
but hang on. To me it's like this. If I'm living on the street and there's an old lady across the street, and then next door to her there's a guy who's 19, rides a motorcycle, plays his music late at night, right? And can be a little bit, he drinks a lot, lots of parties, and you don't get along. Right? Granny buys an AR-15 and he buys an AR-15. I know who I'm worried about. And to me, China is
the woman with glaucoma who can't aim correctly. Yeah.
This is what they're saying. China is the
19-year-old.
That's what they're saying. That to me is, it's like, we don't want that country.
I mean, that's the thing is you can't divorce the jingoism out of it, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so we'll see. Just as we figure out how to do video and get ourselves on TikTok, TikTok's going to go away. So we'll have to figure out where the next place is that we should be trying to build up our our fan base.
Listeners, tell us where to go.
Tell us where to go. Are you on Snapchat? I just created a Snapchat account.
Oh yeah, I'm on Snapchat.
We'll see if videos should go there.
We'll see you on Snapchat, listeners.
There you go.
There'll be an announcement.
Australia wants to ban kids from social media.
But they approved it, didn't they?
I think so, right?
Yeah, they approved it. Parliament
under 16s. Yeah. So messaging services and gaming sites won't be restricted, and there will be some sites like YouTube that can still be accessed without an account. And so there are some people who are sort of piping up and saying, okay, then how are you going to determine what counts as social media? There's also critics who are sort of raising concerns about, is there actually a relationship between the types of mental health issues that people are seeing and just social media? Are there other factors coming in here? Is this ban going to actually do it? So this is definitely a situation where there's plenty of people who are coming in and saying one of the quotes is, I would say that the evidence base is not settled at all. And there's research that some of the opponents have that have found some of the most vulnerable groups, such as LGBTQ plus or First Nations teenagers, feel more themselves online than they do in the real world. And banning these environments for those vulnerable teenagers is actually going to be counterproductive. I do think that there's also a problem. So they tried to pass a bill like this in the Senate here in the US. I think it was called CISO or something. It's not great that you would have to somehow do age verification, which means a bunch of companies are going to have you upload your driver's license to them. Companies are already, we've talked on past episodes about how every company in the world basically is getting hacked these days. Database of identity information is pretty bad in general. It's the reason why there's so many security requirements when companies do that. So having Facebook have your driver's license, having all of these companies have really personally identifiable information and tying that to who you are, bad in general, especially bad if you are, as the opponent says, if you're queer or in a minority group and you want to be able to express yourself in a way that your family or your community doesn't approve of, having those communities be able to go and ask the company who is account blah blah blah, oh, it's your daughter, not great for the daughter. I don't know. I get why social media is bad. I'm not sure you need a study to tell you that social media is bad. It does bad things to kids' brains. At the same time,
It won't just affect social media though either, would it? Because if they're going to do age verification, then that's going to impact. If they're going to start doing age verification, like aggressive age verification, then that would impact a lot of adult industries as well.
I mean, this is the thing, right? Is this is the slippery slope of, okay, then you're proving you are who you say you are, and I'm not sure every person who subscribes on OnlyFans wants that to be the case. I'm not sure the Pornhub visitors want that to be the case. So yeah.
This is why we should have no privacy laws. Just, you don't want your info out there, don't go online.
Yeah.
Simple. Don't use the internet. Don't go online. You don't want people stealing your data. Don't have any data.
It's not how the world works, though. You
mean,
can't exist in the world without being
You
online
don't
these
have a
days.
heart attack. Don't eat the burger.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's that simple, right? No?
No, there is a level of existence today that has an online component. You don't have to be on TikTok, but you can't apply for a job without an email address, so you're going to be in a Google or Microsoft database somewhere. The world doesn't work like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't see obviously I'm joking. Privacy is very important, but
Uh-huh.
yeah, I don't know. Like, again, I feel like it's going to take something drastic, like
Murdering a healthcare CEO.
maybe like AOL wasn't a bad idea. It was just a bad time and the implementation wasn't right. But maybe we do need those internet silos where it's like, hey, look, I'm paying to never be tracked, or I'm paying to be an alternate identity, right? Like, maybe that's the deal. Like,
But someone somewhere has to authenticate that you are Andrew Greener living in Florida, that you are the age that you are.
No. But if you were doing that age verification once to allow me into the, what's it called? We'll call it the
adult net,
the silo. We'll call it TV show. The
adult
adult
TV
net.
show.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Adult net is good. And you made it sound like porn though.
I mean, this is the thing. It's not only about porn, but porn is a thing that
it would be on adult net, right? However, so I do my age and ID verification one time to get on there. That's it. That's
but then
the solution.
that's the point. That's
cloud.
The point is so several things. One, I don't know that there's a ton of adults who want to have their online identity tied to their personal information. That means there's a database somewhere that can tell you Andrew Greener's into some weird foot stuff on Pornhub, and someone's going to find that out.
No.
How are you preventing that?
If you made the internet like these little silos that people can build and sell, like these little clouds, then one of those private clouds would be adult net with no cache, right? Like nothing's persisted, no cache. We don't know your data. You float around and nobody's tracking you. And if they want to be on this version, because the big brands would have a version of their site on every silo, right? It's just that now it's absolutely illegal for you to track any of my data while I'm on this cloud. Why does that not work?
Because I,
Because the internet is so big, it needs breaking up into states anyway.
that just leads you to Elysium style things where the premium things are only available to the rich.
It has to
And
happen.
it doesn't.
It
This is the point of
does.
net neutrality bills. So now you can only watch the premium Netflix shows if you can afford to pay for the premium tier and you're willing to give the mega corporation your driver's license and identity information, which I guess in some cases you kind of have to do because of credit cards. But anyway, the point of net neutrality is Comcast can decide they don't like Netflix anymore and start charging people a fee to access Netflix and put Netflix out of business effectively. It gets abused. Corporations now are gatekeepers to the internet. And that's kind of what's happening to TikTok right now, in a way, right? We have an entire political party unhappy with the things happening on there. And so they've legislated it out of existence. The point of net neutrality is to make sure that it's an actual open, free market. So all of the, sure, you want a version of this where you are willing to give your personal information, do age verification. You can go and curse and watch porn and talk about all the stuff that you want. But the side effect of that is bad in other ways. And so like you have to be mindful of the side effects. It's a giant ecosystem where just because you get good over here, it causes bad things in other places. And that's kind of why this goes back to Telegram and child porn. It's horrifying that you can do that on Telegram, but the alternative to the open internet and a bunch of these things is authoritarian capitalism run amok, like horrible things that screw you in the long term.
But I'd argue that what we now know about social media, you're probably safer in my adult net than you are on Facebook.
Right, but you're not thinking about the queer kid in Kansas who can anonymously go and
How old is
join
he?
groups and talk to other, who cares, 13?
Well, he can't be on my adult net.
But who defines, the problem is the definition of what you're allowed to talk about on the general net becomes policed by people who decide talking about non-straight, non-white relationships is adult, and therefore we're not going to allow it on the general net.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So now the queer kid who wants to find other queer kids and can't because they're in a conservative town somewhere has no outlet and no way to, this is the tricky balancing act, is the open internet allows good things while also allowing horrifying things, and social media bad, like blanket statement, social media bad, not advocating for the all of the terrible things that social media does to kids, but we're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. It sucks.
I like my idea.
Yeah, it
I
just
do. I
doesn't
really
actually.
do. I really like it because I'm trying to think about it too as distributed, where it's like, cool, in the future, anybody can host on the internet, right? And so I can tag my content so it gets sucked up by silos that accept my meta, right? Like they're like, oh, cool, this is rated appropriately. It's like getting into when you're joining a video game and you're looking at the rooms you can join and it says like suitable for noobs, right? Suitable for this, suitable for that. I'd be okay if my internet experience was like that. If I jump between networks.
Until Kansas bans any network that allows discussion of things that they don't like.
But I don't live in Kansas.
Yeah, but that's you don't get to make the rules for the rest of the world because they don't harm you personally. Florida, by the way, gonna do some real stupid stuff under your plan here. No one really wants to talk about Project 2025 and all of the ridiculous things that are in that document. I don't think a bunch of guys appreciate the puritanical fear of sex and sexuality and everything that exists in Project 2025. If a bunch of those things that they want to do go into effect, a bunch of white 22-year-olds are not going to have anything to jerk off to because they're going to ban a lot of things that people don't account for. The things that Florida would do, the things that Ron DeSantis would do under this type of situation, you're going to hate your own internet pretty soon. So are you going to move to California?
No, I'll just go to a
Yeah.
VPN.
Right.
Just set up a VPN, right? Like,
yeah.
yeah, I don't know. The internet's so big. It's like an ocean now. It needs carving up and it needs moderating, and it should be like visiting a city.
It needs moderation for the parts that are harmful, but the current solutions are bans, and bans are more harmful in other directions.
You can, I guess I look at it like this, right? Like, I just cannot imagine how many web servers do you think are out there?
Yeah.
It's like an ocean, right? Like junk that was set up 10 years ago. It's vast. And to me,
Okay.
it's hard to guard the doors, right? How do you guard the doors? So now we're seeing countries say, I'm going to shut this down for a year and try that, see how it goes. Cool. But in my world, there's a gateway, which is you can either get in or you cannot. And once you're in, then you're under the rules of that network. Problem solved. That's
Not
it. The
problem
problem
solved.
is solved. You don't want to hear the white supremacists? Don't go to that network. They're not allowed on this one. You want to go there? Go there. Leave them. Let them fester in their hate.
That's a world in which the white supremacists haven't taken over the governments of countries and states and blocked anybody in those municipalities from accessing the networks that they don't want them to access. So now the internet is the Kansas net, and you don't get to dismiss the kids in Kansas because you don't care about them. Your plan sucks.
No, I think it's good.
Yeah,
It
no.
it needs some refining, but it's good. It's
Uh-huh.
definitely a start of a foundation.
Like all of your plans, the details matter and the details don't work. So
Actually, I'm surprised at how much detail I have in this plan. This is one of my better thought ones. I'm like,
uh
I'm actually thinking I need to reach out to some VC at this point because I'm pretty sure I could sell this. The internet's too big. Let's go back. AOL were correct. We need the gateway, ID verification on the way in. Because remember, like it's look, we only have to appeal to the Hawk Tuah people, right? Like you it's a business, so you want to make money, right? You don't have to you don't have to contribute to society. So this is a good startup. Start these little private networks where they're guarded communities. They're gated, they're walled communities, right? Online.
This ends in 5 years with you being on RICO charges for terrorism that you allowed to fester in one of your private chats as a bunch of white supremacists figured out how to murder
No,
everyone that wasn't white and straight. That's what would happen in these little private servers is they'd turn into Al Qaeda but white.
no, because we'd be selling all the data to the three-letter agencies, right?
Right?
I
Just
mean,
not telling them about it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
It's encrypted.
Yeah, because think about it. Like, imagine going to a place, and this is how I'm going to sell it to you. I'm going to wrap it up with a
Mm-hmm.
bow now.
Uh-huh.
Imagine going to a place where crypto is filtered out.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Imagine going to a place where racism is filtered out. Imagine going to a place where sexism and feminism are filtered out.
Yeah, that's not the problem. The problem is the ones where they aren't filtered out. The problems are the ones where you let them become even more insular, even more in their own echo chamber of a bubble of toxic, horrifying stuff. No, it's bad.
I don't know. I'm not sure. Here's my challenge. Here's where the way I think about it, right, Liz? I'm sort of like in the middle. We all know that. I'm
Mm-hmm.
conservative on fiscal matters and then, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The challenge is I see a lot of people like myself who are in the communities where there's people arguing just horrible stuff, right? And to me there's a negative influence on the centrists, right? It's a weird position for a lot of people in the center right now because they sort of get disowned by both sides, but they have to pick a side. And I feel like some of the more hateful things that are said online often look bigger than they are because a bunch of very weak, emotionally weak people realize, like, well, I have to pick one side or the other, right? I don't agree with this, what's being said, and I'm not brave enough to be disowned by my own people. That's my challenge with having it's normalization of deviance, right? It's people saying hateful stuff to weak-minded people who are then influenced, who would have chosen not to be there if they'd known the type of hateful shit that was being said. So in my internet, those people would just go somewhere that is non-threatening. That's progress, I think.
But that's not addressing my fundamental underlying concern, which is it's not those people. I mean, those people are a problem for being lazy, anti-intellectual people who don't want to learn about the world that they live in, but fine, go fuck off onto your little stupid net. It's the white supremacist net that is my concern.
Yeah, but we're watching those guys.
Sure. Until you put frickin' Kash Patel in charge of the FBI and he doesn't care that that's going on. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like a subscription, right? So it's a private business, so it's up to me whether you stay on there, right? Like you can get thrown out.
Until Elon offers you $1 billion for it and you immediately say yes.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel
Yeah.
like if it's Elon, I'm holding out for fall.
Sure. All right, well, that's going to do it for us on this episode of Acceptance Criteria. To read articles that we've written on similar topics to the ones we talk about here, head over to the blog at acceptancepod.com.
You can also follow us on most apps. We're at Acceptance Pod. We'll post links to show notes and any articles from the blog on there. We're also building a community on Reddit at r/acceptance criteria and on Discord. You can find both links in the show notes and on the blog. And I promise we'll be moderating the crap out of them to keep it a nice little slice of the internet.
For now, I'm Kevin Thomas Euland, and you can find me on most apps at ktomasuland. That's ULLAND.
And I'm Andrew Greener, and you can find me on most apps at Criteria Greener. That's GREINER. And this has been Acceptance Criteria. Thank you for listening, and we look forward to hearing from you.